Hey guys, Nick Espinoza, your chief security fanatic here. And today is Sunday, so we are doing breaches of the week. And before we dive in, as always, I'd like to thank the people that helped me out this week by sending me links or tagging me or messaging me or whatever you did. Guys, it's always appreciated. So Kevin Siegel, David Walker, Chris Fallon, Alexandre Blanc, and Rebecca Rutherford. As always, it's appreciated. And if you have a tip for me, please feel free to send it to me, tag me, link me, whatever it is. I'm more than happy to give you a shout out as well. And with that, let's start with Hannah Anderson. This is a children's clothing company with stores apparently across the United States, and they just told customers that their payment card data may have been compromised in a security breach in 2019 between mid-September to mid-November. So heads up if you have shopped at Hannah Anderson. Moving on, let's head to the city of Detroit. Up to 15,000 current and former Detroit employees and 300 Detroit and water sewage customers may have had their information compromised in a data breach last week. So apparently this January 16th breach affected less than 10 employees' email accounts. It was a phishing attack, but some sensitive information may have been available for employee and customer data. So heads up to Detroit employees and basically users of the Detroit Water and Sewer Department. So heads up to you. Moving on, let's talk about Dallas County, Iowa. Apparently, Iowa has a Dallas. The Department of Human Services announced a data breach which included personal information on citizens in Dallas County. Now, their DHS said 4,784 people's information were compromised on a breach on November 25th of 2019. The custodial staff, and I quote, mistakenly emptied boxes containing documents to be shredded into the office's garbage dumpster. This is a physical breach, still counts as a data breach. Names, mailing addresses, dates of birth, social security numbers, driver's license info, banking or wage information, disability information, medical information, receipt of Medicaid, mental health information, provider information, substance abuse information, illegal drug use information, or prescription drug information may have been compromised. Heads up, citizens of Dallas County, Iowa. Moving on, let's head over to Dearborn, Michigan, and talk about Beaumont Health. Now, a data security breach at Beaumont Health is impacting more than 1,100 patients. According to hospital officials, a now fired employee who worked in registration at Beaumont Hospital in Dearborn accessed patient information and shared it with a person working on behalf of a personal injury attorney. Really, this really redefines what we know as ambulance chasing. So heads up, patients of Beaumont Health in Dearborn, Michigan. Moving on, let's talk about the city of Potsdam, one of the largest in Germany. They severed the administration's server's internet connection following a cyber attack that took place earlier this week. Emergency services, including the city's fire department, police, etc., are fully operational, and payment systems are not affected. So citizens of Potsdam, you can still pay your bills, and hopefully they'll get that straightened out soon. Moving on, let's talk about Regus. This is an office space company, and they just accidentally posted performance ratings of 900 managers to a public Trello board. In other words, anybody could go ahead and read the performance rating of Regus's 900 managers, and this data has since been removed. So if you're a manager for Regus, heads up, you have a very special data breach all on your own. Moving on, let's talk about Microsoft. They just disclosed a security breach that took place in December of 2019. In a blog post a couple of days ago, Microsoft said that an internal customer support database that was storing anonymized user analytics was accidentally exposed online without proper protections between December 5th and December 31st. So the data is anonymous. It did not impact actual customer data like Office 365 or Azure or anything like that, but it did have statistics. So heads up, Microsoft customers. Moving on, let's talk about the Oman United Insurance Company, SAOG, one of the largest insurers in Oman, and they just got hit with a ransomware attack. The company notified the Capital Market Authority that bad actors attacked their main server on January 1st, 2020, and managed to encrypt some of their data. They've released no specific information to the public, and so that's all I have on that. But heads up, customers and employees of Oman United Insurance Company, SAOG. Moving on, let's talk about Mitsubishi Electric. Excuse me. They just released a statement confirming that the company was hit by a data breach dating back to late June of 2019. It's speculated that the cyber attack is linked to a Chinese cyber espionage group, TIC, also known as Bronze Butler, and they are well known for targeting Japan over the last few years. The unauthorized access was tracked to a compromised employee account, and attackers were also able to swipe 200 megabytes of files by accessing Mitsubishi Electric's internal systems and networks. So heads up if you have anything to do with Mitsubishi Electric. Moving on, we're going to be talking about a unnamed Chinese facial recognition database. This database has information on thousands of children, and it was stored without protection on the internet. Now, this cache was connected to a surveillance system labeled Safe School Shield, which we believe is actually the name of the software, but it's not confirmed, and it contains facial identification and location data on children. Now, China has a massive black market for stolen data, so this could put these kids at risk, and hopefully this information is not as damaging as we think it is. Moving on, let's talk about the city of New Orleans. This is an update. I mentioned this, I want to say a few weeks ago, that they got hit with a ransomware attack, and now we know the numbers. According to Mayor LaToya Cantrell, we are right now New Orleans is $7 million in impact, and that number continues to grow, but Mayor Cantrell said the city would be able to recover at least $3 million of this from the cyber insurance policy that they purchased before the attack, really underscoring the need for cyber insurance. I personally don't sell it, but I do recommend it for all organizations. Moving on, we're going to be talking about a website called Sext Panther. This is an adult website, if you couldn't figure this one out. It is based out of Arizona, and they are storing more than 11,000 identity documents that were basically unsecure in an Amazon Web Services storage bucket, including passports, driver's licenses, and social security numbers. And this S3 bucket from Amazon didn't have a password. Now, the company says on its website that it uses these documents to verify the ages of the models with whom the users communicate. I guess this puts together individuals with models that this place hires for, you can figure out the rest of what they do on that site. Now, most of the exposed identity documents contain personal information like names, home addresses, dates of birth, biometrics, and their photos. So heads up if you have ever been employed by Sext Panther. And interestingly enough, when I first read about this, before I knew the name, I thought it was actually the data breach of an adult website that I talked about last week in last week's Breaches of the Week. So apparently it's nonstop in the adult industry, and that's obviously a very damaging thing, especially if you've got people that are interested in stalking some of these models. That would be very unfortunate. Now, moving on, we've got to talk about weed or marijuana. And if you are buying your weed legally, you may want to consider going back to the black market here in the United States. The reason why is because a team of data privacy researchers discovered a major breach in a platform used by multiple marijuana dispensaries in the United States to manage their sales. Now, according to the researchers' report, the breach allowed them to access information on more than 30,000 buyers, including scans of government-issue photo IDs and details about the amount and types of cannabis products customers purchased. The site's researchers reportedly found an unsecured storage database owned by TH Suite. This is a company that makes point-of-sale software for cannabis dispensaries, and this was discovered on December 24th of 2019. The researchers contacted TH Suite about the database on the 26th, and by January 14th, the breach was closed. So hopefully none of that data was found, scraped, and it was only hit by the researchers. But heads up, all you legal purchasers of marijuana, medical or recreational. Moving on, let's talk about the manufacturing industry as a whole. And this is the last thing I want to talk about today, because a new report has basically come out, and this is absolutely fascinating and terrifying for the manufacturing industry. Now, the rate of data breaches continues to rise as half of the companies in a new survey from Sickage, the accounting firm, reported being a victim of at least one data breach in the past 12 months. That means 50% at least of the manufacturing industry has reported some kind of data breach. Of the 50% of respondents who said their companies experienced a data breach, 11% said those were major data breaches. That means more than 10%, more than 1 in 10 businesses in the manufacturing sector have had a major data breach. That is absolutely insane. The report found that many manufacturers, especially those with revenues under 500 million, neglect key cybersecurity preparedness efforts. And I can personally attest to this. When I have worked with organizations under $500 million, there oftentimes is a lot of things missing, nor oftentimes do I find a holistic approach to cyber defense strategies. Oftentimes these are companies that started, let's say, with mom and pop, and then they grew up, and they have not been investing in this, and it's a very serious issue, and the numbers here back me up. Overall, less than 40% of these smaller companies perform cyber audits. That's very true. Oftentimes when I've walked in to do assessments, it's the very first cyber assessment they've ever had done, whether it's a basic one that's more of an asset identifier, which I see a lot from MSPs, or it's an actual full-blown cybersecurity assessment like NIST 800. I just don't see these things. These less than 40% of these smaller companies perform cyber audits. 38%, in terms of penetration testing, 33% in terms of security assessments, and 32% don't do phishing exercises. And that's crazy. I mean, or rather less than, if I'm looking at this. So less than 1/3 are doing phishing exercises, getting security assessments. Less than 1/4 are doing penetration testing. That's absolutely crazy. And the kicker to this whole thing here is this, and I quote the article here. Still, executives believe their companies can thwart attacks. A majority, 54%, said they are extremely or very confident in their ability of their company to prevent or minimize the impact of data breaches. I can't tell you as well how many times I've walked in to companies like this in the manufacturing industry and outside of that sector as well, where they say, oh, we're good, and we are able to punch holes left and right into their network designs. It is a serious, serious problem that I think we have. And what you are seeing is if more than half of these companies are saying, oh yes, we are ready, and roughly only 1/3 of them are actually doing things like phishing exercises and penetration tests, that's insane. That's crazy. I think this is the problem that we have, and one of the things that we need to do in cybersecurity or IT is really talk to leadership. I like to say that I'm good at nerd to English translation, and that's one of those things that we really need to make sure that when we are talking to leadership, we are not getting lost in the jargon, that we are talking about the impact to the bottom line in real hard and soft dollars. It is so important with this. And the manufacturing industry is one of the most critical sectors on the planet because they literally manufacture everything, including the phone I'm talking to you on, my glasses, everything behind me, this shirt, my ring, I mean, everything. This is a very, very serious issue. And obviously we are talking about larger manufacturers here, but we need good cyber defense strategies from small to massive. And quite frankly, the reason why the small to mid-size are the targets is because they are not investing in cyber defense strategies. So if you're in manufacturing or any other vertical, I don't care if you're smaller and you think, well, I'm flying under the radar. You are absolutely not. You're just easier to hit. Not to mention the fact that in your supply chain, you're probably catering to larger businesses or corporations. And so I'm looking at you on your website advertising that you are catering to that large company I'm trying to break into. And I know you're not spending on cyber defense like they are. So I'm hitting you to get to them. That is a supply chain attack. So think about these things as you're going through your day. But the manufacturing sector, like every other sector, really needs to step up their game. And those are your breaches of the week. Were you affected? I hope you weren't. And please like, share, follow me here on Facebook and Twitter at NickAESP. And feel free to subscribe to me at YouTube as well. And as always, stay safe and stay online. Thanks, guys.